Laura Egan. I'm the Director of Product Management for Literacy at William H. Sadleir Publishing Company, and we're very excited to have you here this afternoon. Our presenter today is Sarah Ressler Wright, a.k.a. Vocab Gal. She is always wonderful to have, and Sarah, welcome. And you're always a great asset and fun to listen to during this webinar series. Sarah's exciting. She's going to be sharing with us vocabulary activities and ideas for grades 1 through 12. And these ideas you can share with your students and their parents to keep them busy over the summer. A little bit about Sarah. Sarah has taught English language arts for 16 years and is now the head librarian at her school. Sarah is a National Board Certified Teacher and received the Ohio English Teacher of the Year Award and several other awards and designations throughout her career. Sarah is also a part of the Sadleir family with her weekly blog, Vocab Gal. You should check her out. She'll tell you how to get there. So we are happy to have Sarah here today to share with us her great ideas for vocabulary activities to keep students busy throughout the summer months. Sarah, always happy to have you. I'm going to be giving you the
controls.
The controls. Here you go.
There we
Welcome.
are. So now everyone is seeing my screen. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to be here, and for myself, I know that tomorrow is our last day of school with students. I'm here next week, and I know lots of my friends in other places are going through June. So wherever you're at in your end of school year calendar, welcome. We're going to have some great activities for you to play at the end of your days or to encourage your students and parents to do over the summer. So first, let's see, our goal for today's webinar, and it's going to be a quick, brief webinar, so we want to make sure that you walk away with a strong knowledge of engaging vocabulary activities and games for your students to review both now and over the summer. So we've got some great activities ready for you to go. I really want to stress to you that my big sort of philosophy regarding vocabulary is how to really get kids to know words. And we know that students like to memorize them and then forget them for the test, but we really want them to be a part of their lexicon forever. And so the way that we do that is, according to William Nagy, who's one of the sort of gurus of vocabulary instruction, he has very simple three points. First, you integrate vocabulary into everything that you do all day long. So we don't just do the 5 to 10 minutes of vocabulary at the beginning of class. We also integrate it through everything else that we're talking about throughout the rest of the day, the week, the year, their writing, their reading, etc. Second, we reiterate vocabulary to the point of obnoxiousness sometimes, and that's all right because it's really about saying those words over and over again until they just feel like they're part of their lexicon and it's not some weird, strange word that they saw in a test once. And then finally making it relevant. And that's really what I'm here today to show you is how to make activities and games that are relevant to students so that they can see that vocabulary too is relevant to them. So my first activity is something that you should do and can do with your writing prompts. And so I just created a list of 10 fun writing prompts. I know I have a lot of teachers in my building who like to start off class with every student gets their journal, they open their journal up, and they have a writing prompt. And so you can see it's kind of hard to read those. So number 2 is my example. What are 3 great books or movies you would recommend? And then you know that they would just list them. So underneath, give detailed reasons why they are worthy of reading. And the vocabulary part of this is they have to use at least 3 vocabulary words, or 5, or 7, or 2, or 1, depending on the age and the level of your students. They have to use at least 1 or 2 vocabulary words, if not more, in their writing prompts each day. So they're sort of remembering the old words, they're activating that prior knowledge, they're writing, which gets their writing process ready, but then we're integrating that vocabulary into everything that we do. My second activity is a really fun one, and your students may not even know what Twitter is if you're in a younger level. My high school students are very aware of Twitter and like to use it quite a bit, sometimes to my chagrin during class. And so really, no matter where they're at, you can create these for them or they can find their own. But the instructions basically say that they take an original tweet written by a celebrity. So if you wanted to go find one written by Barack Obama or written by a celebrity of the week, something interesting, something school appropriate, and then you say, guys, they just don't know enough vocabulary words and we've got to help them out. So let's rewrite this same message using vocabulary. And so that they get to have some fun, pick their favorite celebrities. I know I had a student a couple years ago who was obsessed with the Kardashians. So this would really appeal to her because she loves the Kardashians. She follows them on Twitter quite often. And she could then feel superior because she is taking their tweet and putting it in a stronger lexicon, making her celebrity sound more erudite and astute. So really kind of a fun way to engage what they're already interested in and then make it vocabulary centric. And again, seeing that relevance. Okay, now I should tweet Kim Kardashian back and tell her how she can change her Twitter handle to be more erudite. And again, you can also make the sentence for them and see what they come up with. And it's really interesting, if everybody had the same sentence, how would people be similar and different in their creations? So really have some fun with vocabularizing your celebrity tweets. This one is a brand new one on the blog. You'll notice it's very, very recent, and it looks fabulous. And I really have to say this is one of my favorite parts of working with the Sadler family, is I have all these great ideas in my head, but I don't have time, nor do I have a graphics design team at my school to make all of my ideas look so phenomenal. And you can see that when I send Sadler my ideas, they do have a graphic design team, and they made this amazing, amazing activity for vocabulary. So the directions say that you get two, because I'm trying to conserve paper. So you print these out, and then you can read the directions that on the other side, the blank side, the student each has to draw a place they would like to go on vacation. On this side that you can see down here below, they write a message to themselves describing all that fun they're having. So if you say, hey, I know you may not be going anywhere this summer, or you may have to go spend time with grandma, but maybe you want to go to the Bahamas. So you draw a big picture of the Bahamas on one side, and then on the other side you write about how awesome a time you're having going snorkeling and sitting in a lounge chair and reading your book, of course, and using vocabulary to describe all of these activities. So again, you can decide how many that is for your students. You can decide once they create it, what do they do with it. If you have the wherewithal, you could certainly have them address it to themselves and send it to them halfway through the summer and see what happens. Otherwise, you could send it to them at the beginning of the next school year from their last teacher. You can send it to their new teacher and see what they think, and see a little reminder of reiterating those words over and over again, even the next school year. So this is one of my new favorite activities just for the fun and the graphics. Another option for this one you'll see in the handout is that they can also write postcards to you, and you can also have some sort of bonus or prize if they send you a postcard from wherever they go over the summer and they include vocabulary, and you can give away prizes for the students who use the most vocabulary. And I know every once in a while I'll get a postcard from a former student, and it really makes me happy when they incorporate a little bit of their lexicon. So don't be afraid to encourage them to do so. My next one is something that students might actually do at home over the summer because it's a video of a famous celebrity writer. And on my blog that I'll show you in a minute, I have lots of great author interviews. And these are really K-12. I have Jarek Krasaska, who wrote the Lunch Lady series. I have Deb Hodgkinson, who has written several picture books, all the way up to John Green and Veronica Roth, who write YA. And so students at anyone can access, they're on YouTube, they're on my blog, where essentially each author for 2 to 3 minutes explains why vocabulary is important, how they learn words, why other people should be learning words, and they're just really a lot of fun to watch and to listen to and go, oh, wow, that's John Green right here in my classroom, or oh, look, Jarek Krasaska is making a silly, goofy video that is actually encouraging vocabulary. And then they fill out this sheet. And so you'll notice they can put the date they watched it, who the author was, books that they talk about. I always sort of give at least a couple examples of their books. And then what did they get out of that video? And this takeaway message should incorporate some vocabulary words. So they can say, I became more astute watching John Green talk about words and his favorite words, because now I know what to use in my own writing. So really having them fill out this video interview sheet, and they can do it the last couple weeks of school when you're trying to encourage them to keep reading and learning and writing and they're getting a little burned out. Or you can say, take it home over the summer, bring it back to me the next school year, tell me what you've learned. Lots of different ways that you can play with this activity. Another fun one that I know a lot of us are very engaged with is Pinterest. And so students can actually create Pinterest vocabulary boards. And this would be a great summer activity if they're bored. Hey, create a great vocabulary board for Unit 1 or for all your vocabulary throughout the year. See if you can find pictures and ideas that remind you of specific words that we've chosen, and then you can write a little explanation underneath of how this reminds you of a vocabulary word. Or you can even find quotes that deal with vocabulary. And so this is a great quote on a Pinterest board, and so we've got the word collaboration right there. And so really there's a lot of different play with how students create their Pinterest boards, what they put on it, but if they're really engaged in Pinterest, and then you can have them connect those beautiful, colorful crafts and ideas that they want to look at with their vocabulary, then they can see the relevance and they can really see, hey, vocabulary helps me think about Pinterest in a different way, helps me remember those words, and maybe this becomes a way that they learn to study, and then they can always sort of see that visual in their mind, they can call up their Pinterest board, and they really know that vocabulary. So this is also a great end of the year activity that if you really want your kids to know a lot of words at the end of the year, maybe they make a Pinterest board to help them review. So again, lots of different play with all the activities I'm giving you. An oldie but a goodie is always to make a vocabulary comic. Now, this can be straightforward and simple, just using vocabulary words and captions. You can also, and this is where the idea of integration works, you can take the ideas that you're studying from a text, or you're thinking about text throughout the year that you've studied, and have them create a comic to help them remember that text or help them analyze a character in that text or think about the theme or think about summarizing a text. But in their comic where they're summarizing or character analysis, whatever they're doing in that comic, they have to use vocabulary. So just another way to keep making sure vocabulary enters in and it sort of is imbued in everything that you do throughout the year and throughout all the different areas of study. Don't be afraid to mix and match and always be asking students to incorporate vocabulary into other areas, into their writing, find it when they're reading, really showing that vocabulary goes throughout the day and throughout all the activities you're learning. Another great sort of end of the year review is to create a think-tac-toe board and then have some different vocabulary activities to do. It doesn't just have to be vocabulary. One of these can be vocab, one of these can be grammar, one of them can be spelling. You can really mix and match your ideas, but they have to create a tic-tac-toe board. So they can go across, they can go down, they can go diagonal, or you can insist that they go diagonal or down if you say the top 3 are grammar, the middle 3 are vocabulary, the bottom 3 are spelling, or vice versa. So really have some fun. And this one I chose to go across, so then I'd have a long one of grammar, a long one of spelling, a long one of vocabulary, or you can make them all vocabulary and have them review in a lot of different ways. So think outside the box, literally and figuratively, when you're creating these boxes to give students ways to learn and review vocabulary. This is one of my new also favorite graphics, and just look how beautiful it is. I was so excited when I was just eating ice cream one day and thought, oh, it would be so great if students could build their own sundaes and make it be about vocabulary. And so they can cut out whatever aspects of the sundae they want, and for me, I would cut out, oh, just about all of the ice cream, maybe all of the toppings and the cookies underneath. And then for every one that you have, you want to sort of add a little vocabulary word that describes it under here. And then, or alternatively, you can have the description underneath where you talk about your delectable sundae and use a great deal of vocabulary while you do so. And you'll notice that I have 2 different description examples, one that is more K-5 centric with more K-5 words, and one that is more 612 centric with more sophisticated vocabulary. So use whichever you want as a model, create your own model, but really have some fun when you're talking about ice cream sundaes and vocabulary. Although I will tell you it's a little dangerous when you're talking about ice cream towards the summer and then you give them paper ice cream to play with rather than actual ice cream to play with. Another really fun one that students would be very willing to do during the summer, much like that Sunday activity. I like to give these to parents, and when they say we need to keep reviewing vocabulary over the summer, but I don't want students to have to do drudgery or have to sort of just go through workbooks. This is a really fun idea that the students are thinking about music anyways, and so they create a vocabulary playlist. So you'll see that they put in, and you can say, have the students pick their 10 hardest words that they don't know well, and then they have to think about a song that would go with this word. It doesn't have to have the word in the actual song. However, they have to create a connection. So now when they're reviewing vocabulary and they just can't think of what autonomy means, now they think, okay, autonomy, now I'm going to think about this song, and I'm going to think about the meaning of the song and go, oh yeah, autonomy means that you have to be your own person. So it's really a way to get those students who are really musically focused to remember their words, to connect their words, and then just sort of build those into hopefully their own lexicon eventually. So creating a vocabulary playlist is great, and you can even have them make it a playlist on their device and show it to you and share playlists and really have some fun in the classroom talking about music in connection to vocabulary. Now, one of my favorite, most basic activities that really works well in high school as well as in elementary school is coloring. And I have never seen some of my students more excited on the day than on the day that we said, hey, let's color. Oh, we get to color, Ms. Ressler? Really? Really? And yes, I give them a picture, and you can see I have, you often might want to label a couple words already, sort of to kick them off or get them going. You don't have to label 4, you could do 1 or 2. But then you say, okay, once you've colored a little aspect, you have to label it with a vocabulary word. So now you've colored the kite. It's a fierce kite because you've made it fierce. She is clutching that kite in her little orange hands. And then these lovely pink flowers that you've colored are oh so delicate. And as I was talking with Laura earlier, we talked about how adult coloring books are so popular that you could ask students to bring in their own coloring books and then label what they have themselves, or you could give them a handout that already has coloring on it. I know that I have a science teacher who they color and they have diagrams for science words on their colorful diagram, but you can say, hey, you also need to draw a couple of vocabulary words that go along with those science terms and concepts. So again, making it cross-curricular, really involving vocabulary in whatever you do throughout the day. So all of these great ideas and activities that I've mentioned, where do you find them? And literally, you can Google Vocab Gal, you can Google Sadler School, and we will pop right up. I have a new idea and activity every week, so you can see our vacation postcard is the newest one. We always do a vocabulary SAT word of the week. And then we have across the top, you can just look at the vocabulary games or writing, the author interviews. You can just click right here and they will all be listed. The teaching strategies, I have a lot of fun seasonal ones. There's a lot of good spring activities that are focused on spring. You can also come up here where it says resources, and you can get a list of everything sort of all in one. Do know when you click on these, they'll break it down for you for more elementary and more middle and high school. So everything I do, I really try and make sure that it is more geared elementary as well as geared more middle and high school, so that you feel like they would really work for your grade level. And so there's also really fun here, core grammar, the person who writes this is a friend of mine, literacy, progress in math. There's a lot more than just my blog when you come to Sadler School. So I really encourage you to check those out too. And you'll notice down here I have, you can follow me on Twitter at Vocab Gal, Facebook, Pinterest, because I love Pinterest. My YouTube, if you follow me on YouTube, then my author interviews are there, and even Google+. So those are just a quick nutshell, a couple great review resources as well as some parental resources. And Laura, I'm hoping we have some questions that I can help target specific teachers' needs.
Okay, thank you so much. This has been exciting. I mean, these are all new, or not all new, but a lot of new activities for Sarah. She's just been very busy the past couple of months creating these activities and keeping us at Sadler busy. So I want to remind you that the question box is on the right-hand side if you just expand your control panel. and you see the question box there. Just type in your question. We do have a few here, Sarah, so if you're ready, I will shoot them out to you.
Okay.
I love your new activities. How do I get these worksheets? How do I download these worksheets?
That's a good question. Again, if you come here to resources, or it's specifically broken down by games and author interviews here, you click on this and then it'll have the link to all of the different activities and games. You click on one and all it's going to ask you for is, usually, because I have to do it myself sometimes, is it'll ask me for my name, my email, and what grade I teach. I hit yes, and then I have that download sent to me as well as in my on my computer.
Also, I want to suggest that everyone look in their email within the next 24 hours, because in our thank you email to everyone attending this webinar, you will be getting the downloads right away. So you'll have a link directly to the downloads. But if you want to look at the resources for other downloads that Sarah has created, please go there. They're all there for all different grade levels and all different times of the year, assessment ones, holiday ones, etc.
And I didn't really talk much about my games, so there's lots of games on there and all kinds of other things too. All right, next question.
Okay, so I'm in 5th grade, and this is just general question throughout the year. How much time do I spend should I spend on vocabulary?
It's a good question that I struggle with, that all of my English teachers, as we have conversations, struggle with. Really, how I do it is I have 47 minutes, so I do not have long in my class. When the students walk in, they immediately start reading an independent book, and that's a big priority for me. And so they read their independent book for as soon as they walk into class through the first 5 minutes. And then as soon as that 5 minutes is done, we spend between 5 and 10 minutes on vocabulary. And I do 2 words a day, every day, except for on Fridays. We will usually do a quiz of the first 10 words, because we'll have to do 1 or 2 more, or we'll save it to Monday. So basically, almost every day we're doing 2 words, takes 5 to 10 minutes, and then depending on the day, we'll do a review activity. If we have sort of loaded up on words. I have a lot of friends who are sort of doing 10 words on Monday, and then they do a little activity every other day or every day after that. So really anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes a day, which seems like a lot, but because you're then imbuing that into, it is really writing time, and it's also making them stronger readers because they're seeing that vocabulary and understanding what it means in context. So vocabulary to me is at the heart of a great English curriculum, and I'm willing to spend the time because it pays off in their writing and their reading and their thinking in so many other ways. Does that answer the question, Laura?
Yes, yes, it does, very much. Yep. So here's a question of vocabulary lists. Do you have a vocabulary list that you draw from?
Thank you for asking. Literally, I went to Sadler in 2004 and said, I love your book more than any other book I've ever found. If you ever need me, let me know. And the rest is history. So I have been using the Sadler book since my 2nd year of teaching, and those are where I get my lists of 20 words. And so again, like I usually do 10 a week, so I'm not going to get through all 15 lists in the Sadler book. If I have students who I need to advance a little bit, I'll push them forward. But I always use the Sadler book for my lists, and I have not found a better source of vocabulary.
That's terrific. I have a question here, 4th grade teacher that's interested in getting sample books, so I'm going to direct that teacher to our website. If you go to Sadler School and you click on vocabulary, you click on your grade level, which is 1 through 5, and you can request a sample there. So that's going to sadlerschool.com, click on vocabulary, and request your sample on that product page. One more question, or a couple more. How do you assess vocabulary words on a weekly basis?
Okay, and there are a couple good resources in here that talk about my testing practices, and usually what I do is either on a Friday or a Monday, depending on how many words we've done. I ask them, I just put 2 or 3 words on the board. Each class is different, so they can't say, oh, what were the words? And they have to write sentences using context clues that clearly show they know what the word means. Often those sentences will revolve around what we've already been learning about, whether it's the text we're studying or a key concept, so they have to sometimes incorporate those ideas into their sentences as well, which is not always easy for everyone. But the key idea is that it's a very quick assessment in terms of, here are 3 words, use sentences, write them in sentences that have context clues, underline the context clues, and turn it in. It's harder to grade, but I really like that I can individualize it if I have a kid who I know needs a specific word list, that instead of 10 words for the list, he gets 5 of them. Then I make sure that those words, he may get a separate sheet that has those words on it. But it's a great way for me to tell if they really know what that word means and if they can use it in a sentence, in their writing, not just multiple choice. I do multiple choice semester and final exams.
Great. Are there any specific activities that you would consider appropriate for kindergarten?
That's a really good question. In regards to kindergarten, I think it's really about using the vocabulary first. That I know that with my student who's now a 2nd grader, but with Hux and his younger sister, Rozzy, who is in preschool, I use the word tenacity all of the time. And I say, guys, we have to have tenacity. You have to be tenacious. And those are big words for preschoolers, but they will get the hang of it. Same thing, Rozzy uses the word steep a lot, and we look at stairs that are steep and hills that are steep. And so the more that you can use those words, the better, and you can have them up on the board to remind yourself, because I have word walls in my classroom, often just as much for me, so that I remember the old words and that we can use them more, integrate them and reiterate them that much more if they're up on the wall, and also for the students. So I would say in terms of kindergarten, they can color pictures and describe those pictures using words. They can, the Sadler book, there is a first grade book or a 2nd grade book, Laura?
First grade.
First grade, okay. So if you have some advanced students, I would say maybe start them on that one. But really, there's activities and games that you can play and download. There's a Candyland game that's called Vocab Land that you can fill in the words and help them play it, and have different people at each table, one person sort of be in charge of reading the words. But Candyland, we play a lot right now, and so the Vocab Land is fantastic. So I would say definitely check out all the elementary resources and make sure that as long as you're saying the words and then helping the kids who can do more of the reading advance that much further. Laura, does that make sense to you?
It sure does. I mean, kindergarten, you know, you have a lot of different levels in the classroom. So you really want to build up the oral vocabulary. You want the students to use the vocabulary within themselves, you know, among themselves, and, as opposed to just with you, with the teacher. So I would build up that peer grouping and have them work together on their vocabulary so that they can, you know, identify the vocabulary word or, you know, help each other, because that will build confidence in them using the word. We do not have any more questions. So if you do have a question, here's your last chance to write it in the question box. If not, if you miss this opportunity, you can always email Sarah. If you can flip the next slide, Sarah, and show your email address, vocabgal.com, and then, or you could just go to sadleyerschool.com. Sarah is very attentive to her blog, and if you have any comments, she will then respond. Sarah, I just want to take this opportunity to tell you that this has been a great school year working with you, and thank you so much once again for giving, lending us your brain, your activity, and your time this afternoon. And we look forward to next school year, starting off with several webinars, which everyone who has attended this webinar will be invited. So again, thank you so much, Sarah, for your expertise.
Thanks, Laura. And again, feel free to put a comment on the blog and I'll respond right back, or you can tweet me and I will tweet right back at you. So.
Great, and thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. We know that this is an extremely busy time of year, and you did make time for us. So we appreciate your interest, and I do see a couple more questions coming in, so I will send them to Sarah and we will send them out to you. Okay? So thanks again, everyone, and have a good afternoon.
Thanks.